Here it comes.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Witch's Craft. This episode is called See You on the Other Side. And we are going to be discussing something that is still pretty taboo, even in our circles. Something that we kind of hover around. We do eventually face it, but it's still not quite as present as it really kind of should be in our practice, and that is the very heavy topic of death. Before we get into that, of course, we have our awesome leader, Gwen, over at Avalon Vision. She's got some stuff going on this week.
I do.
What have you got going on this week?
Well, I'm going to be up at the Soul Surge Expo, which is in Scotts Valley, working with the person that invented the Aura cameras, Guy Coggins, and I'll be reading auras. So come on down and see. Been working with him since quite a long time. It's kind of how I got into all of this mess. So I've known him since 79 maybe. Yeah, I'm old.
Nice.
Older than I look? Maybe not, but I'm old. Anyway, so I've been reading auras a long time. Yeah.
No, good. So,
That's
well,
what I'm
best
gonna
of
be
luck
doing
with
this
that.
weekend. It's what?
I said best of luck with that tomorrow.
Yeah. Most people don't see me before noon. You might see me before noon tomorrow.
Awesome.
Ooh,
We also have our
have
our garage green witch goblin joining us today.
she's evolving. She's she's going from a goblin to a witch.
I ate a rare candy.
You ate a rare candy. Okay.
That's what we did it.
I have to add this in. It's totally impromptu, but I have again on Etsy found homemade marshmallows from marshmallow root, and I'm guessing that's not what you ate, but it sure made me feel happy when I found them. Yeah.
Well, it was made from marshmallow root, but it was flavored like creme brulee, so 50-50.
Okay. and I'm going to have to send you that link on a private message. And if anybody wants to know, don't want to give away my secret too much because I want to be able to have these again. But yes, one of my friends reintroduced me. She said, I found them again. Because where we used to get them from, we couldn't get them from anymore. So yay. That's my plug for that at Etsy site, the one and only that gives me that. And I might put that up I'll post that up to my Facebook page. Follow my personal page. So if anybody wants it, it's where it will live. So, okay. What do you got going on, Joe?
Well, that's kind of a light segue into what we're actually going to be discussing. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
So that's fine, because I mean it's something that like I said, we eventually face it, and it's usually feared, yet somehow we love the personification of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see decorations everywhere. You've got, human skulls. You've got all sorts of other, skeletal forms. Let's put it that way. But when it actually comes to the reality of it, that's where it takes a very, very different, just enormously traumatic turn. So the question is how to find that middle ground with it, how to embrace it, how to work with it, how to understand that it's really not the end. Um, and just really how to be more comfortable, like talking about it, talking about our own mortality, our own passing, our own beliefs as to what happens next. Um, and how do we link that with the things, especially in our pagan community? How do we link that with everything else as far as like practices? I mean, we sometimes use bones in our practice.
Hmm.
We can use, like I said, skulls as decorations. I mean, I've got an alligator skull that I use on my altar every so often. So, I mean, it's there. It's there. There's always that presence of it. And I mean, sometimes there are some rituals in which we're going to talk about that, that are revolved around that. But there's something of a deep dive that I really wanted to do with this. So um, let's go into what it really means. Why not? I would love your take on it.
Well, you know, it's obvious that we don't just end. So is it a question of a soul? Is it a question of energy? There is a transition that takes place. When I've had animals die in my arms, and I've had felt their weight on the bed several days later, know that it was them, and then realize that my other cats were not up on the bed with me until that weight jumped down, which allowed me to kind of let go. Um, a medium can go to a graveyard or into a room or a space, and sometimes they can tell you who passed away in that space
Mhm.
and what their circumstances were. This is because there is an energy that lingers. There are different types of energies that linger. Some of them can be a very active, sort of like that person is sort of trapped there, and some can be like a residual energy, like an imprinting. But we carry a certain amount of energy with us. You can see it if you're looking at chakras, if you're looking at the energy that is around a person, and you can feel your energy. If you take your hands and you rub them together like this, you can then feel a little squishing sensation. And those of us who are very practiced at it go like this and make energy balls. That's because that's the energy that runs this body, and as long as it's in this body, we kind of can make it move. Um,
Mhm.
Gurus talk about astral projecting. There's, the silver thread. Does anybody remember? Oh, oh my God, I can't think of the actress who talked about the silver thread that she learned how to astral project. Out on a Limb. The actress that wrote Out on a Limb. There's some wonderful books about this stuff. And we think about all of the things that, I mean, we hear things, they creak in the night. Energy doesn't just disappear. If you're sad and you've lost somebody, if you just kind of picture them, with happiness, and just remember them in happiness, you'll feel them around you. If you don't want them there, that's a whole nother thing. But if you just understand that we're all connected and all we are is energy. Some of us hold mass together and some of us don't. And when I mean that, I don't mean a Catholic mass. I mean our we're kind of in with our bodies, and then our bodies leave. And when does that soul join it? Well, that's a big question, isn't it? And that'll bring us to a whole lot of other topics, which I won't go into at the moment. But it's a transition. When you die, you don't end. You go places. I had a friend who was diagnosed with cancer, and she, in all seriousness, said, "Gwen, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna be okay dying." If she was in at Stanford and Palo Alto, and she said, "I figured if I died here, it would be okay because all I had to do was go down the hall and find a baby body because it was probably going to be born to wealthy parents in Palo Alto." And she was very sure about this. She didn't wind up being and going. That was not where she was when she passed, but she was very sure that if she died in Palo Alto, she was going to incarnate in a wealthy family, and she was very, very happy about that. So ultimately she chose to be somewhere else. But I feel like there's a, I'm in that boat where I've kind of seen a few things and heard a few things, and I can kind of hear things when I
Yep.
maybe shouldn't hear things, and call me a sensitive. Some people call me a medium. I want to be a small medium at large, but I got it. Here I am. And I've, given some very good instructions to some of my friends. Don't haunt me when you're dead. If you die first. But if I die first, look out, I'm coming.
Oh yeah, no, same. I actually have, full intentions of being a pretty active haunt. Let's put it
Oh,
that way.
this I find interesting, but don't die before me because you're younger than me. So don't do it.
If I die, leave me a bowl of soup.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a custom to put out candy for people on the other side. That's when the veils are thinnest, which is this time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's part of why we do that whole thing around All Souls Day and All Hallows Eve and Samhain, is to honor the dead. And it does seem like the veil is thinning this time of year, doesn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. There are so many different ways that I look at it, as far as again that transition. And um, one really nerdy thing. I mean, obviously, it's me. You're gonna hear nerdy.
That's
One
okay.
nerdy thing that actually has kind of helped me to really kind of embrace it. It's one of the one of these sayings by, of all characters, it comes from Yoda, Master Yoda, where he says, and I'm not going to give a direct quote, but he says something along the lines of, "Don't the message, don't try to hold on to the ones that have passed, and don't spend your life missing them. Don't miss them. Don't mourn them. Celebrate the fact that they have gone through that transition.
Mhm.
Celebrate that." Well, in his words, rejoice in uh, rejoice for those who have transformed into the Force. So, um, even in little nerdy things, you find a little bit of wisdom that kind of helps. It kind of helps to understand that. And holding on to that, it's kind of helped me with a lot of other cases where I have had personal loss. Um, I've lost other, well, I've lost pets, I've lost people. Um, some of them decided that they were going to take their own way out.
Mhm.
So that's been incredibly difficult.
Yeah,
Uh,
I had one friend who did that. Um, I don't know why I always when I was a kid I always thought I'd wind up with them, and then at some point I probably might have, but they took that way out, and I never got to say goodbye. But and I don't hear them on the other side. Some people I hear, but I don't hear him.
so yeah, that's kind of, like I said, this kind of helped me with coping with that. Um, but there are other practices, of course. So let's talk a little bit about that. How do we go about practicing in dealing with that? What do you think?
Well, first off, um, to address the suicides, some people just don't feel they can be here. And I always think of that as a permanent solution to a short term situation. No matter how bad it is, eventually what goes up must come down, goes down rises to the surface again. I mean, it's so I kind of I have heard other people, this person is not communicative. So I will see them again at some point. I feel like that we can hear them if we allow ourselves to hear them. If we're open to the idea. Um, I think the one of the loudest voices in my head is my father. I don't hear my mother as much. Sometimes I feel her more, usually in a dream. If I sit back and I ask, I can feel her, but I hear my dad. It's terrible because he tells these awful puns, and he always did. And I'll realize that, like, I'm doing a little bit of maybe channeling a little bit, like I'm not fully possessed as a medium or something, which is how the old school mediums used to see it. But it's more like I just keep hearing it, and I'll hear it, and I'll start telling really silly puns and stuff. One of the most interesting times that I ever did sort of a channel was when my shop was in Capitola Village, and it was kind of late, and I had a group of young kids that were kind of casing, and they were probably Hispanic, even though, like, that, as you know, I don't like pay attention. But what happened is I think I was almost full on getting like a mediumship. I think I got one of their grandmothers that wasn't around. And I kind of had the whole accent and everything. I didn't even realize it. And I can't pull off an accent. Anybody who knows me, if I try to put on a fake accent, I'm terrible at it. Like, if I was going to act in a movie, I could probably act in a movie, but don't ask me to do an accent because I'm terrible at it. Doesn't matter what it is. English, Irish, I make jokes, and it's absolutely the worst. And so, unless I'm really practiced at that one single joke, I can't do an accent. And so I was just talking, and finally one of them says, are you I didn't realize you were, Spanish. I said, I'm not. And I snapped out of it almost instantly, because, and they came back a few times, and they waved, like, whatever it was, like it hit them, it hit them home. And I had no idea. But what I think happens is some of us are just enough mediums that some things like that will occasionally happen. And like, they had someone looking out for them that did not want them to get into trouble.
So what I'm hearing is they got hit by the psychic chocolate.
They did, they got hit by their Bruja grandma, someone got them, and it was I was so there, like, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. And I think there are people like me that have that capacity. Pretty sure you guys have that capacity, that and as we allow it, and it wasn't frightening to me, because it just was what it was. Now, I don't think I'd want to go into a really energetically compromised spot and try to do that. I would prefer not to have that experience in a dungeon.
Right.
I mean, I don't seeking out stuff like that, because, like, I don't need to take that. Someone called it Ockenpucky. Like, one of my friends used to teach some of our classes here, said, Ockenpucky, and it's like, yeah, that's a good word for it. I don't really need to go there and, like, let's call out the negativity that used to be in this spot, like down here in this oubliette, and see what happens. No, thank you. And if you guys don't know what an oubliette is, that it means the oblique. It's a French word for it. They throw you in a hole and forget about you, and occasionally toss you bread, and you die down there. So I don't want to go in an oubliette and try that. Let's put it like that.
So I'm hearing Silence of the Lambs. Okay.
Well, no, actually, much worse than that. It would be like in the bowels of a castle.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And they weren't ever going to pull you back up. You're down there with other people's bones. It's pretty horrible how, you stay down there. Not even your skin becomes useful. You're down there, baby, with rats, whatever you could eat.
Well, speaking of pulling back up, though,
pulling it back
up. You were talking about the mediumship. So what's talking about divination?
Mm-hmm.
What tools do you recommend? I know we talked about it a little bit when we were talking about Los Spookies a few episodes back, but I know you had something about using the tarot.
Well, typical Rider-Waite deck, your most standard deck. I don't use this one in the shop. I use a different one. This is my own deck too. But if I go to a party, I'll pull out the Rider-Waite deck. and you would do, you would do your card spread, and you can pull it out, and depending on where, and I don't teach the tarot, but depending on where the cards fall, you can see like what's in the past, what's in the future. And let's just say you're probably going to get maybe you pull this one up to where it's like, this is King of Pentacles, right? So if you pulled up the King of Pentacles and it was sort of down there where your family influences you, let's just say, that could be maybe your dad or grandpa, someone who had the money and like he's kind of influencing the situation. Maybe you should kind of listen to what you might have, the perspective that he might say. Now, when I'm doing the tarot, I don't necessarily say to somebody, your grandparent is trying to talk to you, but I'll say like, the influence you're experiencing is your family member. Maybe they had a really good relationship, or maybe that was about money, and because it was a Pentacles, and they may have taught you just to pick a guy for the money, and now that maybe what you learned, and maybe that's not what you should be learning, and so
Right.
depending on where it is, you can kind of pull that into a reading. Now, some people don't do that with the tarot. I do. I'm one of those. Another thing you can do is you can use a pendulum. I like this pendulum. I think these are on my website. Let's see where it is. I like this because it's very positive. And if you really wanted to drain out the energy, you could flip it upside down and turn the pendulum upside down, because these things unscrew, and you can do it that way and clear an energy if you really wanted to. Some people don't want to right side up pendulum. I kind of prefer them. I just feel a little more in tune with it. So you can get your solid. I usually hold it really close like this when I do it, so I get my like yes and no. And I think we talked about how to do that, and scry out what's your yes, establish your no, and then say, is there anyone in the room with me? Yes, no. So you can use a pendulum to find out if someone is in the room with you, or if you need to. And you can also clear a space with it too. You say like I could say there, and there probably is, because often there is, someone in the room with me. That's just a reality. So, my name is Melania Trump. Oh, there goes. Good, right. My name is Gwen, and I'm not really moving. You can see I'm not moving. And now all of a sudden, my name is Gwen. There you go. Do I want to be Melania Trump?
No.
You went right back the other direction. You didn't even have to say anything. So if I say to myself, in the room, I'm asking, are there any spirits in the room with me? I get a big yes. Are there any spirits in the room with me who want to cause me harm? No. I'm just going to guess. I'm going to guess. Is there is the lady that used to live in this house in the room with me? Yeah, she felt like she's around. Is the gentleman who likes to tell me to remember my cell phone in the room with me? See, that's a yes. Do you mind that I'm here? No. So I can ask a lot of questions. Thank you. And I usually kind of thank whatever's there. Like, I don't necessarily want to communicate full on and have that experience with someone, I mean, I don't really want to like sound like someone's grandma, because I'm like consciously doing it. It's not my thing, but there are people that do that. There are people that are channelers. There are also people that are fake channelers, and I've seen it. I have seen it. I have done shows where someone sat next to me. I'm doing the aura camera. We're reading auras, and they went, "You're from the Pleiades," and blah blah. And it was pretty much the same thing for almost every other person. Different planets. Okay, now could he have been accurate? Maybe. might have said he didn't have something. Did he tell them something that they wanted to hear at a UFO conference? Yeah, probably. Did I want to sit next to them again?
Probably
No.
not.
No.
Yeah, we had
So
there was something about like ingrained practices. I think we had something about the green witches. What do we have talking about that?
well, if you think about the concept of rhythms, earth rhythms, death, decay, rebirth, um, you're looking at a natural cycle in life. Like,
Mhm.
and it's like, it's natural to assume that your children are going to outlive you, which is why the death of a child is so devastating. It's
Right.
natural to assume that you're going to outlive most of your pets, unless you have a parrot, which could very likely outlive me. It's possible. They do. It's so you have these certain expectations about what a cycle is going to be. You have plants, they grow, you eat them, they grow, there's a seed that grows again, your body produces fertilizers. There's this cycle of life that is expected. I don't think that I want to live forever in this body. I kind of want to forget parts of this life when I go away. I kind of think that I might want to remember some parts of it and have that memory. Oh, I was watching a
Yep.
fascinating documentary on some kid that thought he was John Lennon. And there was apparently a lot of actual, like, he did some very strange things, and Yoko Ono thought he had been him. And then he just said, "I'm going now," and he just didn't remember, but occasionally would wake up as a teenager humming a new song. There are these fascinating cases of reincarnation that topic has absolutely always fascinated me for very deep reasons. But we expect as witches that we honor the dead and that we honor the cycles of life. I know there's a Native American concept of if you snip a plant, you maybe give it a little lock of hair, or you thank it and honor it in some way because you're honoring the fact that it's giving you part of itself. So the idea is to honor everything. And there's a Christian concept too. We thank the Lord for this food we are about to eat, right? I mean,
Right.
And actually, and I've seen people do it. It's very uncomfortable in a restaurant to see someone, but honestly, it's probably one of the best practices that, I mean, I'm not saying that we should all pray over food, but we should give thanks for the meals that we eat, because literally everything that we consume is some kind of, or has been some kind of life. And I think we should honor that. And it, that's why, like, if you get a chicken, like, okay, I'm going to give an example. I like to get roasted chickens. I'm not a huge, great cook, so I don't want to necessarily cook it for myself. And a whole chicken is too much for me. But I got this 17-year-old cat, and dang it, she wants her chicken. And so we have to get her a chicken, like, about once a week, and we, tear it off. But I found that for a while, sometimes the chicken was and I felt really bad about that, parts of that chicken not getting eaten. And I was so happy because I have somebody that comes by my house on a regular basis now to do some of the, like, yard maintenance and does work. And he has a lovely, adorable pit bull puppy, and that chicken doesn't go to waste anymore. And to me, as somebody that is trying to honor the life, and I have birds, it's like, this is a use. It has given its life. It is getting eaten. That is part of the cycle of life. I am not a vegetarian, nor am I a vegan, but at least I didn't have this thing killed so that I could leave it to waste in my fridge, which that's a shame. So these are parts of being, honoring what if you murder something, well, murder is technically human on human, but if you kill something for food, the least you can do is eat it.
Yeah.
You know?
Um, there's
So there is a
also
classic saying that decay is the extent form of life, by which, with your story, if you take those bones from the chicken and grind them down, they then become bone meal, which then can be used to go feed plants, therefore aiding in rebirth, aiding in growth.
Mhm. And I have a little compost thing that I now compost my coffee, which is definitely helping my yard. And I compost other things. Now I don't compost the chicken because that usually disappears with the dog. But one of the things that I want to do is to at some point get a real, like one of those compost things that you get. Actually, you can take the bones and everything and put it in there. That is on my agenda. I saw real estate, my next real estate commission. That's the one thing that I'm going to get for my house.
nice.
So
So,
somebody buy a house from me, okay? So I can get
Right.
this.
So getting back to you mentioned, prayer, even prayer
Yeah.
over a meal.
Yep.
That, I mean, I consider that like a basic ritual, but we do have others that are a lot more elaborate, and
Absolutely.
I mean, we have so much more that we can do to really bring forth that process, not bring forth the process, but bring forth honoring the process. I gotta correct myself there. Um,
A friend does.
a what?
A friend does. Day of the Dead.
Right.
Oh,
Yes.
well,
Yes.
that's a big thing. And
Right.
if for sure, when I say like some of the things that Joe does, I should also be doing, and I, lack of time, et cetera, don't get some of these things done. So I definitely want Joe to and you too, my little garage goblin, you green witch, to tell people what you do, because I feel like it's important that people have options to what they do.
Well, we actually do have a little section
Yeah.
on that coming up. Before we get into that, though, I still want to talk about the actual ritual part, where it's, I mean, prayer's a ritual, but also you have like more, like some more elaborate things. Calling to mind what we did for Samhain, was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago. Yeah, that was really a
2 years
nice
ago.
ceremony.
And even a few of the ones before that, where actual people were honored. The one that we did for Samhain, of course, for the ones who did not attend, we based the ritual around uh, the ferryman, of the Greek. I hate to call it mythology, but of the Greek pantheon. Let's stick with pantheon.
Mhm.
The ferryman uh, carrying the souls across.
Realistic.
That was something that we kind of developed, and it hadn't really been done before. And I loved the fact that we went through the process. People came in, they were alive. They were given that heads up that we are now going through the process of your death. So, they had that moment where they started on that path. They were walking down, literally walking, but also walking down into the underworld. Um, and then
And
you had somebody, some weirdo that was actually playing the ferryman.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, I know who that was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, oh no.
He's a really weird guy. I think he was the only Mexican there, but okay. Anyways,
I think so.
um,
Maybe.
so
Possibly. That has been noted in the past at some of these events. So we should
So-
change that, I think.
well, but I mean, the idea was to have the attendees kind of bask in that moment. They were going through that process. They were leaving behind their old life. They were leaving behind people, families, memories,
Mhm.
and also coming to terms with everything else. And one of the key points in that was that we wanted to get that message across, that even though this image of a grim reaper, this image of the ferryman is not really one to be feared. He's not the enemy. He's not. He's hated. He's feared. But looking further into it, he's just a lonely soul that is doing his job. That's the job. That's the responsibility that he's been given. And we actually gave him that opportunity to express that, to say, I am sorry. I feel extremely, extremely horrible that I am the one to carry you through this. I understand your fear. I understand your anger. I understand everything. And I have watched you through your processes, and I've watched you from your beginnings. I've watched your ancestors from the beginnings, and I remember every single one that passes through here.
Mhm.
And it was just really an eye opener that being able to see that from his perspective and give him that chance to just express that. And it's true, honestly. If you think about it, we might have lost that image, or I mean, it's still in pop culture. It still shows up, but there was a time where they actually did believe this is what's carrying this person, this family member away. So, I love the fact that we were able to bring him forward,
Mhm.
and that to me is really one of the best ways to honor death, even if you're honoring just the image of it.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a good way to really sit with it. And a lot of people did sit with it for a while. They had their chance to, to bring their coins up to the ferryman. They were paying. Um, that, and the coins that we made were pretty powerful. Um, and so were the memories that they were carrying. And a lot of people were very visibly ingrained into it. They were just going through it. It wasn't really rushed. It wasn't, it just kind of flowed. It had some hiccups, but it flowed generally smoothly. And then afterward, when they paid that toll, when they paid the ferryman, they were able to uh, go into the next process. And that's also kind of one of the things that I want to go into is like where do we go afterward? So the beautiful thing about this ritual was that um, once they finished the with the passage, they were greeted by a light worker who was the very opposite of this poor tortured soul. And she was like, okay, welcome, welcome. We are here. You're here to begin anew. You're
Mhm.
here to either move on to the next stage. You're here to work as a guide. You are here to maybe go back. You're gonna again reincarnate. Um, and just the fact that we carried those people through that was incredibly powerful. And
Uh,
again, I have no idea who the weirdo was who was the ferryman,
No,
but
I don't know. He wasn't there
yeah,
really. I mean, sort of.
um,
But can I add something here?
sure.
For people that don't know what we're referring to, there's a local group called Community Seed that has
Mhm.
seasonal rituals, and some of us are a member of it. It's sort of a it's definitely Wiccan. It's its own little thing, and people in Santa Cruz County can attend. It's open to everyone, and the rituals are designed to be very inclusive. Occasionally, they're not as inclusive as they should be, and it's been noted. And I think that there is enough of a sort of a group there that whenever they put on a ritual, it's pretty awesome, and there are absolutely awesome people, some of whom we know and love, who have been responsible for writing the rituals so that people can have a sort of a cathartic experience on all the seasons, and especially around Samhain when we're remembering our dead and celebrating life and death. And I just wanted to add that in there so people, because it's kind of hard to follow, and they have them at various locations, and it's all done very symbolically, but you feel it. It's a very intense experience, and it's very cathartic for a lot of people.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So that, I mean, that was just one way, just one example of, honoring them in ritual. Also, you have, and I have to remind myself, I don't want to get into too much because we still have that last section of our cast tonight, which is what is remembered lives. Before we get into that, though, once again, one of the big part of the rituals of that ritual in particular was, where did they go from here?
Mm-hmm.
That's one part that I was really, really waiting to cover, because there have been so many iterations of what you would consider either a paradise or a personal hell. It can be either way. And I've always loved to explore all of these possibilities. And I say that because to me, it's more of a sense of, like, which door do you want to choose? Not, oh, it's not, exclusive towards, like, okay, well, you're not of this nationality, you're not this race, so I'm sorry, Valhalla is off limits to you. Or the Elysian Fields, beautiful fields, but I'm sorry, you're not Egyptian. You can't go there. Personally, yeah, I had the idea of heaven. Everything is, well, I never imagined the pearly gates or anything like that, but but
I'm not
growing up,
my cats aren't there.
yeah. So
Oh
there's so many different ones. But growing up, there was always that thought, oh, well, you want to go to heaven, where we know one person in particular who wants to get to heaven is absolutely not going.
no, who is that?
Some orange guy.
Oh, I don't think he cares. I think he
Yeah.
just wants you to think he wants to
Yeah.
go.
I think it's just because he heard a rumor that the pearly gates are actually made out of candy, and so he thinks he can go eat his way in, and there's McDonald's on the other side.
Well, maybe in his heaven, that's where it is. Like maybe they're burger pillars of burgers.
Well, yeah.
Oh no, it's just candy.
Okay.
I think it's Candyland.
Yeah.
Heaven is Candyland.
But he's
So,
gonna back in the pond.
Go ahead.
so there's one in particular there's one idea in particular that I kind of subscribe to, even though it's been really just kind of left to the mariners, and that's the idea of Fiddler's Green. That is their version of what you call paradise, where the work is all done. the fish, they're the ones jumping on the boat. So it's like, okay, they don't have to work the ropes. The captain is totally laid back. He's down, in the lower decks making tea. And there's this idea where you go to this island, um, and everything is just there. Everything that they enjoyed in life. There's bottles of rum lying under each tree, like one of the songs says. There's free bottles of rum. There's beautiful women working the bars. The beer is all free. And so, even though there's like this teeny tiny little sense of really enjoyable debauchery, uh, it's to them that is the paradise. That is the paradise. And they still remain close to the sea, which that's what they've been drawn to all their life. So, me being a sea witch, uh, that's what really has been enticing for me. So everybody has their own version of it, and I'm really hoping that, like I said, that it becomes more of an opportunity. Like, which one do you want to go to? Which one do you not want to go to? I mean, hey, if it's a choice between, free rum and going and hanging out with Ozzy Osbourne down where it's a little hotter, I mean, that's going to be a tough choice. But
That's a tough. You sure Ozzy's going? I mean, I think Ozzy might have done his time in the, he might. Maybe he's not that. Maybe he's going to be off some
which,
kind of.
by the way, he was the inspiration for the title of this cast. See You on the See You on the Other Side is actually one of my favorite songs, Ozzy songs. So, but yeah, I love that there are so many different versions of what happens next, and hardly any of them give that hint that it's an absolute end.
I don't think it is.
Even there's even that concept that you just return to source, become source. You become that energy. So from energy we come, and to energy we return. So, but I love that it's an ongoing cycle, ever moving forward. So, yeah, that was kind of where I wanted to go. And meanwhile, while those souls have gone on, we still have that process of grief and celebration.
We do.
Which that's where I wanted to get to, as far as what is remembered lives. Now, Garage Green Witch Goblin, please.
Thank you. That's much better.
Share with us. Yes, I am sorry. Please share with us what customs you are familiar with as far as remembering those who have gone.
So further out, say around like Christmas Eve, it is very important to go leave one hay under a chair and to leave a specific plate out for a deceased family member. That is one. In South Korea, there is a specific festival in which ornate meals are made for their ancestors and are left there for the ancestors to enjoy. I believe, like I said, like for Day of the Dead, you have the ofrendas and everything else that goes along with it. In Polish culture, well, actually, let me backtrack on that. In Eastern European culture, during the grieving process, various cookies, treats, offerings are left with the family of the deceased, and those offerings are either left like at the gravesite, or if they're in a mausoleum, then they're left at the bottom of where the rack is. If it's something that is not perishable, usually there is a bracket that is on the front of the mausoleum. Let's say silk flowers. Those are usually placed by a family member or a friend of the family, depending on the intention that's being made. So things like that.
Every culture is significantly different, and yet there are great similarities. Like pretty much across the entire planet, people honor their dead in some way. Their elephants mourn their dead. They have elephant graveyards where they go and mourn. Did you guys know that, right? There's significant evidence that multiple different types of like primates do the same. So it's something that it's part of our DNA to understand and acknowledge that there is something that we wish to acknowledge about our past. Now, one thing to remember is that we carry the memory of our ancestors in our DNA. Do we coherently remember it on a, probably not, but it's there. Like, that if something gets modified in our DNA, and I mean like, radiation, it changes our DNA. There's things that happen when your parents' DNA comes together. Now you got both sides. It's ever evolving, and it's worldwide. You can't get away from it, and we all have different takes on it. And we all want to somehow improve who we are in the process of honoring. Like I definitely hear my dad, and sometimes I tell him off, like, be quiet, Dad, you did this. If there's something that he did that, created a chain of events that ultimately are still affecting me, which there are a few things, it's like, okay, you set this in motion and this is the fallout. Now, remember to help me out when you, come around, then I might not hear from him for a day or so, but, like we have this constant energy around us, which is all of us together, and we're tapping into and in tune with our direct ancestors all the time. We just don't necessarily know that.
Right.
And a lot of people, I noticed that we do have ancestor work. A lot of people do ancestor work. There's also one of the people that I work with does ancestral healing. Another one of my friends does Akashic Records, which is very similar. So there's so many modalities. They come from different places, and realistically, we all participate in this. And Joe, I know you have more on that. I mean, I know you've got some other things that you want to for sure mention before we go off to Stone of the Week.
No, there is a practice of, working with the ancestors. There was one thing that I did notice when I was given it was an unfortunate circumstance, but I was allowed to attend a funeral for someone who was indigenous, and this was in Arizona.
Okay.
As I was there, and they were going through it, the funeral was held actually in the house where the person had passed.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me, part of the family told me that even though the ancestors or the people that have passed are still honored, they never mention that person by name again.
Okay.
So
Is that
um,
just during the ceremony or always?
always,
Okay.
it's that's what I understood.
Isn't
Maybe it's
that varies tribe to tribe though, doesn't it? I think it does. I think, but I don't know that.
it does. I thought that was quite curious, and I kind of understood it. Um, so it was just kind of strange that to me that in that moment it seemed like that person was now devoid of their identity. But thinking it through, it's like no, that identity is not taken away. They are still imprinted. It's just they never mention that because they do not want to lock that person in this existence. So like, that's
That
why the name is
reminds me of, I remember when I did Native American Studies, and this was decades ago, that the professor who was teaching it said that they never close the loops on their O's
Mm.
or on it because they don't want the spirits to become trapped.
Mm.
I thought that was interesting.
Okay.
I wonder if it's the same tribe. Part of it, just I wonder if it's the same, like that's the same tribe that does that. I wonder. I'm guessing that maybe it is, and just because I had that like little pinch of a memory that just kind of came
Right.
through. So yeah.
Now the other side of that is as it was mentioned, um, the Dia de los Muertos when it comes to the Mexican side. Um, Absolutely. And I honestly have yet to do it, yet to actually go through the custom of building the altar, the ofrenda. Um, I would like to at some point.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, those of you that have watched Coco, you know what I'm talking about. Um, but that is an actual custom. You build an altar. You have every picture, uh, or at least as many pictures of the family as you can put on there, whatever's available. And yeah, you offer them what was their favorite food. You sit with them. You can still talk with them because the veil is thin. Um, you also have certain delicacies that are presented. You've got the famous sugar skulls.
Mhm.
Um, what else? You have pan de muerto. It's a very particular bread that's made just for that time, and not everybody makes it. There have been a few times where, like, even in communities that are predominantly Hispanic, uh, I've not had the chance to really taste that, but it's always been in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, I want to know what this pan de muerto is. It's like literally bread of the dead. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'll bet you that we know a few people that could probably make that between us.
it could be. Yeah, that's
Because
actually a
I
possibility.
think it'd be interesting. I think it's something I could actually try to eat because it's yeah, because it's I wonder what I wonder what it would taste like. It doesn't have nuts in it.
My understanding is that it's slightly sweet, but not too sweet, and I guess it depends on who makes it. But yeah, there's that, and they're playing the music. They if you can, they go down to uh, where they're buried. And they sit with them, have a picnic, just have the music playing, and just you know.
And that's
Uh,
healthy because that's a lot better than saying, "Oh, they're not here anymore." No, they are here. They're just,
oh yeah, yeah.
it's they're not.
I have an answer for that
Ah,
as to like what goes into it. And I do believe that it is anise seeds, orange zest, and I want to say cinnamon.
probably is.
Hmm.
It sounds like
And
it's very good, actually.
and I believe that there are
shapes that are made on the top, like teardrop, for like the grieving process. They're like threaded and braided aspects of it.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just essentially it's a sweetbread. It's a Joe, say the word. You go ahead.
A pan dulce?
There you go.
Up on
Yes.
those. Okay, that's as good as I'm going to get it. Sounds good.
Mhm.
See, I could probably eat that. Doesn't have nuts in it. Yeah.
So,
Don't have to have a. I don't need to be celebrated after with the not use of my EpiPen if I have nuts on it. So there you go.
so I mean, I think that kind of rounds it out. It's we've really kind of discussed how it can be tragic. I mean, it is tragic. It can be traumatic. It can be scary. When you're working through the grief process, and it can be scary to think about your own mortality. But
Oh yeah, and as you
No.
get older, you think about it more and more.
Yeah.
What would
But
happen if?
I
sorry,
was
what
just
if?
going to say that one of the nice things of being in this timeline right now is that we have an opportunity before we get to like our end place, if you will, to come up with a way to go find a way to be renewable. By which I mean there are ways to have biodegradable like planters made with
Mhm.
said ashes or turned into a diamond or placed into the sea to become a coral reef.
Or
And in those ways, like we have like regrowth and renewal.
out into the water.
Yep.
Mhm.
I am. I because I'm a lot older than you kids, um, and because I'm gonna probably outlive my spouse. We planned our funerals a couple of years ago. Well, we planned and it was kind of interesting, like because so it's all prepaid. So he wants to be in the ground. I don't want to be in the ground. I said, you need a family plot. I'm not going into that family plot with you guys, and you won't care because you're going to be gone anyway. So I'm going to get floated out to sea in a little biodegradable pod where the fishes will eventually have have at my ashes. And I'm good with that. I even got
Yeah.
a pod and I can change it over time if I want. So
Become a coral reef.
yeah, basically. Or some fish food. I'm gonna be fish food, guys. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
Because I've eaten lots of fish and maybe I need to give it back, you know?
that's right.
So yeah.
Garage Greenwich Goblin. I know you and I have talked about what it is that you want. Do you care to share that? It's a bit outrageous, but then again, that is our Garage Goblin. So
Okay. So I wish to be cremated, and as my body is being wheeled down the belt line into the furnace, I want Tragedy from the Bee Gees playing. Afterwards, I want my ashes stuffed into a planter with like a whole bunch of, I don't even care what kind of seeds they are. They could be like vegetables, they can be stuff for trees, just chaos garden. I want to be a chaos garden.
You know what? That's pretty good. And did you know that if you own property in the state of California, for sure, I think there's differences in different places, you can actually take your ashes and bury them on your property.
Does
There's-
it make it tax exempt?
Isn't that what?
Does it make it tax exempt? Because technically, I guess that would be a cemetery at that point, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no. I think you can just do it, but you can't. It's there, but if you did go dumping out in the ocean, you have to do it far enough out of the shore.
Oh god.
But I think you can do it in your own yard. We had that discussion
Mm-hmm.
the time that I figured out I was going to get floated out into the water because, you know what, I might well be living alone, so somebody might have to float me out. And unlike one of my other friends who said, if I become too old, would you please take me in a canoe and row me out and dump me off the side because I won't be able to swim? And I'm like, I think that's called murder. And I said, oh, yeah, sure. I'll do that for you. Right after your daughter kills me for it, I don't think so.
Oh my goodness.
She's hearing me now. She might be. I'm like, I can't do that legally, but unless I'm 1 foot in the grave, and maybe they'll go like, she's a senile old bitch. Oh, sorry, did I say bitch word? She did it. We know she did it. She said she was going to win that pod blast years ago. Anyway, or whatever this is. So yeah, there's lots of, there's first off, if anybody is thinking about it, it's actually not a bad idea to kind of tell people what you would want, what you actually would want, because otherwise you're going to get what everybody else around you thinks that you want, and it may not be anything. I've always joked, but I'm not serious about it, that before I die, I want to get we get the Wiccans in there at the same time, the Pentecostals, the Baptists, the Catholics, the Buddhists, the yogis, all around at the same time. And I want last rites from all of them at the same time. They all got to be in the same room because I want to die laughing. Okay. And I know that will make me laugh watching them go like, no, you got to start it at the same time, kids, all in there at the same time. You want to save my soul? You have the time to, you've got the opportunity to. You got to do it at the same time with people you disagree with. But hey.
I kind of have this whole elaborate thing, which I don't know how it's going to be done exactly. I just know that there's going to be a catapult involved. Yes, I wish to be catapulted.
We're just going to trebuchet him into the sea. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
No, I would like, I will go with cremation.
Okay.
Because I am Tequila Joe, I would love to be doused only by the closest people in my circle will each get one shot of tequila. They will be able to just sprinkle that on me, light me up, launch me out into the sea.
Okay.
Just make sure that you hit the spot where the moon is reflecting, because that, according to I believe it's a Haitian tradition, the reflection of the moon on the ocean is the actual portal to the afterlife. So
okay, that makes sense.
Whoever's going to do that has to have like absolute precise aim. So please,
practice before you catapult.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Can I just make a secondary note here that I am descended from Captain Henry Morgan? So, like, if I outlive you, can I put a little of Captain Henry Morgan stuff on you, just because?
Sure, and I'm also open to discussing changing the catapult to a cannon. That'll be fine.
Oh yeah, they exist. Well, you can launch out with a cannon, and that might be easier to aim. Just saying, catapults seem like it could be just a little bit hard, and it might not get far enough out there.
Great.
That's why I said the ultimate thing we need to do is just turn you into a ball with all the alcohol in it, light you on fire, and trebuchet you into the ocean.
Oh God!
Please. All right. On that note, what do we have, Gwen?
Well, from the discussion of catapulting corpses and cannonballs and
just this one. That's
okay. And these and
great.
Yeah, I am going to the light topic of. Let me put it up here. Kunzite, because it's gentle and it's kind and it's a wonderful stone. And if you can see, it's a lot like rose quartz. Now, putting it here, currently we are out of the smaller packages of kunzite on our website. We have lots of it in the store, but this is what rose quartz looks like. And it's relatively inexpensive. So if you don't have kunzite, which looks like this, it is easier to get. It's very easy to get rose quartz, but kunzite can also look like, let me remove this from the stage. Here we go. It can also look like this, which is, it's a lot like tourmaline. It grows in kind of longer chunks. It can be almost white. It can have this sort of orange yellow sort of tinge to it. See that, how it kind of has that? But it's very gentle. Now, the thing about kunzite, which I like, is it's not that well known. And it's not terribly unreasonably expensive. You can get it faceted. It can be if it's a very expensive piece that has been faceted into a ring or something, it means it's a good sized chunk and it's very clear, and that can be quite pricey, but not like rubies and things like that. It's still very gentle. The thing that I like about this, and I'm going to show you, is that it is good for emotional healing. It opens your heart. It helps dissolve the, barriers. It helps you heal from past wounds, all of which can be, related to any trauma, sensitive souls. So people like me that are, in tune with things, and I can't always shut everything off. And if I pull a piece with me, it's very good. It helps you see the divine love in other people's. Well, again, there's a bit of a crossover between the energetics of kunzite and rose quartz. And aura shielding, getting rid of, unwanted entities. So like if I didn't like the people that were here, I could really probably clear them out completely. I don't want to do that. There's no issues with our people that are here. The celestial doorway, it helps to break through barriers and transition people. It's very gentle, helps to align your chakra, crown chakra especially. That's that color. Remember I said, where's the color? If it's up here, if it's a pink, it's probably up here, so it'll work with that. Lavender kunzite. This is very very pink, but some of this goes from the oranges all the way down to the lavenders, depending on what load of kunzite I have in. It's good for meditation. It's good for tuning with the diving, because it pulls you up into your crown, so that's why it does that. It helps you be emotionally resilient, workplace protection, and it makes a good travel companion. If you get angry when you drive, it's not a bad thing. It helps you to protect you and from others. Like I'm not very patient in traffic. I swear a lot sometimes, but then I don't like go driving into other people. Look at that idiot, but I'm not, I'm not just necessarily like left and right giving them the bird, I mean, if I'm on the phone, I'll be, I can't believe what that person just did, so, I probably should put some in my car, probably help me out a bit. And I may do that.
Okay.
It's also good for altar enhancements. You can make a cluster, you put it on a centerpiece on a wand, you can put it vertically to align chakras. You can have a heart healing altar, divine feminine altar. It is a little more feminine energetics, because it's less of the physicality that you associate with the masculinity, masculine energy. And also too, it's very airy and it's out here, so you can combine it with feathers and shimmery things. And it also has a little bit of that emotional enhancement. So I like kunzite a lot. And it's not one you see everywhere. We do have a ton of it in the store. And if somebody, wanted to order kunzite on the website, which we're pretty much out of it, they could just call the store. I do have it in the store. I have a lot, you don't need a big piece. Again, these are little chips. See how small they are? They're just little chips. But
So what I'm hearing with this is that it might be a good stone to have, especially if you know someone who's at that moment of transition. It might actually help them.
Oh yeah. Um, if you're looking at gifting someone a stone, you don't have to say like, what do they want? You don't have to look something up. The best way to choose a stone is to go like, what is popping off the shelf? But if nothing's really popping, and I want to go get a piece of kunzite because that's what I want to get. That's always okay too. But if you're buying for yourself, let it pop. If it pops at you, then that's a stone for you. And it pops, maybe it doesn't, maybe something else like rose quartz pops, but don't get it stuck in your head that you have to get a certain stone. Get it
Right.
stuck in your
No,
head that,
well,
but if you're buying one for somebody else, by all means, it's a great gift.
what I meant was it's good for somebody to have when they are dying.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, that's what I was talking about. Like if they are at that moment of death, that's a good stone to actually have for
Connection.
that to help them with the transition. Yes.
Yeah.
So, all righty.
So
All
that's,
right. Well,
so
that's
that's it. Yeah.
yeah, that's going to do it for this week. Another great episode. So thank you guys. Hopefully you guys are still tuning in on. You can find this on YouTube. You can find this. I believe we're at the point of almost getting on Facebook.
Well, we're on the Avalon Visions Facebook page.
And the Avalon
we're
Visions
having
Facebook.
24 more people to get it to simulcast it to the Witch's Craft. So if you're watching this and haven't signed up for that, just do it. So and you don't have to watch it if you don't want to. That's the thing. And so we are picking up a few subscribers on YouTube as we go through things. But yeah, and come on and see me tomorrow if you're in Scotts Valley. See what an
Yeah,
oracle
absolutely. You guys get the chance to get out there. Yeah.
Nonsense. Help us get to 5 million subscribers.
Oh yeah, 5 million subscribers. That would be
Let's
awesome.
go. Like, comment, subscribe.
That's it. Like, comment, and subscribe. You got it. Okay. Well, see you next week.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you.